Yilungelo Lakho, a law unto themselves. Well, this is what many believe some elements in the tow trucking business have now become. Rogue elements, or vultures as they've become known, have brought misery in the lives of unsuspecting motorists, and many can't wait for the strict regulation of the sector. And today, Mbukeli, we shine the spotlight on the activities. Bringing you another insightful installment. Yilungelo Lakho, it's your right. We are emva kwekhefu Mbukeli ngizovulela ingcingo. Usithinte la studio 011-714-6918, alternatively 714-6919. Ungasithola on email to consumer@sabc.co.za. Sikhona futhi on our social media networks. Asingene shiqe edabeni yethu le namhlanje. Mbukeli uVincent MOFOKENG, umnikazi wemoto walapha eGoli, osale ekhala izinyembezi eziyelo futhi eshoda ngemali emva kokuthi alwe nalabo phela abadonsa imoto yakhe emva kwengozi yemoto ahlangabezana nayo. Sekwedlule emibili iminyaka yonke kodwa lutho umnyakazo ngendaba nezikhalazo zakhe, kodwa ke usaqhubeka ukhokhela imoto engasekho kuye. Nangu uVincent uyachaza udaba lakhe.
Getting into this lane and now to swerve out for this guy who's coming with the speed.
Kusemini maqanda uVincent MOFOKENG uqhala isiganeko sokunhletheka kwesithuthi sakhe esizulwini zobusuku kwesisitalato. Uthi wayephepha isithuthi esasa kuye ngqo. Wasiphepha kodwa wayeuhletheka kulomthi. Zange kubenini kwathi qhaphuqa isithuthi sokutsala imoto i-tow truck ngolwasemzini.
They towed my vehicle away, and the following morning I went to see the vehicle at Proline Renew It in Sandton. I got a quotation to get for repairs on the car, which was up to 125,000, which because we corresponded with email, which I denied. I'll fix this vehicle myself. I think the message was clear on the mails, and we made arrangements to get the vehicle back. So I was sent from pillar to post just to get my vehicle back. I have a friend who has his own towing company who offered to fetch my vehicle for me in Sandton while I was out of the province. We tried that 3 times. And we also corresponded via emails because the company didn't speak so well, or they were not organized over the phone. Again, that stretched out to about 6-7 months, me trying just to get the vehicle back.
Ngokuna ngoko wakhanela unyawo lwemfene wonda ngeofisi yomnini wale nkampani apho wafika waphalaza ingxaki yakhe.
He then said they sold the car January of 2018, and this meeting was in October 2018 that I had with him, all right? But they were ready to charge me for storage for the time being, not knowing that I've already contacted my tracking company, asked them where the vehicle is, telling me that the vehicle is in Pretoria, Shoshanguve, driving around there, whereas they told me it's around Sandton, the long storage depot. So that's now where I am with the situation, that the car was illegally sold to a third party who also has claim to the car, so I couldn't just go and retrieve the car from this gentleman.
Amalinge ukuthetha nomphathi lenkampani azalele endle. Ongamele umbutho wamashishini atsala izithuthi uEtienne uthi abantu abaninzi baye babe ngamaxhoba amaqhinga nobuqhetseba obuxhaphakileyo kolu shishino.
Consumers in our industry are unfortunately led to believe that don't worry, your insurer will pay. Don't worry, the third party will pay. And that's not the truth.
Uthi akuvumelekanga ukuba isithuthi somthengi sibanjwe.
The only time that a towing company can withhold your vehicle and refuse to hand the vehicle over to you is when you've signed an agreement with them in terms of what the costings will be. And if you fail to adhere to that agreement, because it is a binding contract between you and the service provider, then obviously if you haven't adhered to those costs that have been put in place and that you've agreed to, then obviously they can hold that vehicle until such time that you would pay. The only thing is that storage costs are incurred every single day while that vehicle stands at the storage yard.
ukaPel uthi ngokwamavo akhe kolushishino esi siganeko sikaMofokeng ayikho kuphela kwaso ngumkhuba uthande ukuxhaphaka.
In most cases, we must understand where things go wrong. With a typical scenario is after hours. Late at night, early hours in the morning, consumers may have consumed alcohol, they've been out to parties, and when they get involved in a crash, the first thing they worry about is being intoxicated, being under the influence of alcohol, and law enforcement arriving on a scene that's going to possibly arrest them. So to try and avoid these things, then they work in cahoots with towing operators and say, how quickly can you get my car away here? Please just tow the car. And they forget about all these important elements when it comes to the agreements that they have in terms of costs. So they don't sign documents, they just get a card from a towing operator and they say, off you go. Then tomorrow he goes and looks for his car. And when he's sobered up, then the problems start, because then he says, but you never told me up front what the costs are. But he clearly forgot it at that moment in time when he was involved in the crash. Then it was a matter of convenience.
Akunakalanga isitudio kuphela, kubonakala ngathi nawo amalungelo omthengi khange asiwe so kwesi siganeko. Ingaba isisombululo soku sifumaneka phi na xa kunje? Kuvuyisile Mdoda, Yilungelo Lakho.
Yo, kwanzima kakhulu mbukeli, sibonge kakhulu kwinsizwa uVuyisile Mdoda ngalo mbiko. Let's now extend a very warm welcome to our guest today, Sinosihlalo we-United Towing Association of South Africa, nimbonile kwi-insert u-Etienne Powell. Sibe nayo noSizanele Gigaba omele i-South African Insurance Association, and on my left nginayo umvikeli wamalungelo abathengi u-Advocate FATI MANAMELA. Ladies and gentlemen, what a pleasure. Good afternoon to each and every one of you. Thank you for joining us.
Good afternoon.
Welcome. Etienne, a very good afternoon to you. So just basically, before you comment on the insert, give us a brief about what it is that your association actually does or stands for.
Well, firstly, the United Towing Association of South Africa, which is the short is UTASA, we've got an association that we've put together to try and bring some discipline back into the industry. Because we have, over the years, we've seen that the industry, to try and self-regulate itself, has been a very difficult exercise. We have unscrupulous operators within the industry, like you will have in many other industries. So for us, it's about trying to put a code of conduct together, which we have done, where members of the towing community who wish to work through our organization, it's a voluntary organization. It allows them to be able to do their business in a manner that it brings integrity and its honesty and ethics to their business. So they've got to sign a code of conduct. So the code of conduct also speaks to many of our laws in the country, such as the Consumer Protection Act, the National Road Traffic Act, and trying to adhere to those rules. So it brings them some kind of comfort too, where we have business clients on board that work through our organization, that when they're on an incident and it's one of our business clients and they are members of our organization,
they've got some sort of
recourse. It gives them the opportunity of towing that vehicle. But it also, at the same time, it allows the consumers out on the road, when they know about the organizations, is to have some kind of peace of mind, to be able to know that through the decals of our associations that are branded on the vehicles that are being used, that you can at least determine that this is somebody that is following a proper code of conduct.
All right.
And where there can be recourse.
Absolutely. So you're like a mini authority body, basically, Etienne. Makikabo sichazele wena umele i-South African Insurance Association. Nenzani lapha? Ngiyazi ukuthi mhlambe nidila nge-insurance yemoto or kanjani Ntokazi?
I-South African Insurance Association, in short, SAIA, umsebenzi wethu urepresenta i-insurance industry as a whole on common issues that affect the whole industry. One of them that we're dealing with today is consumer education, ensuring that our consumers understand issues when they interact with the industry and when they've got issues outside the industry, the way the industry interfaces.
All right. But Fati, osithi fahla wena nsizwa siyazi ukuthi umele amalungelo abathengi namhlanje. You are the perfect person to have on the show namhlanje. Uthini kodwa kubabukeli namhlanje, particularly on the topic esikhuluma ngayo namhlanje, labantu abasebenzisa ama-tow trucks or tow truck owners or drivers abathatha i-advantage yabantu.
Yeah, and that calls for consumer rights and responsibilities, and our office is actually entrusted with the mandate to actually educate consumers on their rights and responsibilities, and also as a watchdog of those rights, and see to it that consumers who also consume towing services are well protected and they know their rights, and those also who actually enjoy insurance they must actually know that they have got their rights and responsibilities.
And they are protected.
So it is our job to make sure that those things are actually adhered to, and then that consumers are not taken for a ride. But in the same breath, consumers have to be vigilant and then also know what it is that they should do, whether it's right or wrong, whether or not to actually append a signature on a document. Do they understand the nature and consequences of those terms coming out of that contract? And all of the consumers also must know that they've got rights to choice. They have got to give consent where that consent is due, and where it is not due, they have got all the right not to actually give it.
Absolutely, especially when it comes to izinto ey'fana neemoto.
Exactly.
All right. All right, now we saw the insert, guys. Etienne, I mean, what a story. Do you think Vincent's story there is just too far-fetched? Is this something that you see most commonly in the industry? And, I mean, this car was sold illegally to a third party and he couldn't even retrieve it, all from a tow truck.
Look, to be very honest with you, in terms of listening to what I've heard on that insert, for me to make a comment on that would be very difficult from a towing perspective, because we can see he's talking about a quotation for the repairs of his vehicles. Now, we don't want to mix up the two of the towing industry
and
versus the motor body repair industry, because those are two completely different entities. So I cannot comment on his experience in terms of what happened with the motor body repairs. That is something that he would have to obviously take up either with SAHIA and then also work through the Consumer Protection Act. Now, obviously the towing section, we don't have much info on that. All we know, the vehicle was towed, it was towed to a motor body repairer. We've never seen what agreement there was between him as the consumer and the towing operator concerned. So it would be very unfair and unbiased for me to make a comment on that. But what I can say is that, in any case, he looks like a person to me that looks like a quite responsible and well-educated individual.
Yeah.
So it would surprise me that he would not actually have looked at any kind of document where there's terms and conditions. Any person in their right mind, it's your possession. Why would you just let your possession go into the hands freely of somebody without knowing where your vehicle is going, who's towing your vehicle, what the costs are that you're going to incur? Yes, in many instances we have laymen in our industry and in the consumer industry for all, that people don't know what their rights are. And I think this is the perfect opportunity for us all to be able to explain what are the consumers' rights in terms of our industry as a whole and very much other industries.
Well, Etienne, we have it under very good authority there that the agreement between him and the tow truck drivers was that they were going to tow his car to their yard, and then they were going to tow it to his house, I think a day or so later. And that was the agreement. I don't know if it was written or not. When Ntokazi ucabanga ukuthi what happened there, I'll give you a chance just now, Etienne.
One of the problems, Alicia ngibonala ukuthi i-consumer ayisho noma bene insurance policy or not.
You see, that's where we stuck as well, yeah.
If you bene insurance policy, what would then happen is the insurer would obviously take control of where the car should be towed, and some of the instances, industry also will take control of who is going to tow the car. So from that perspective, then they are able to ensure that the car is secured and they're able to ensure that the car is repaired. But in this instance, it doesn't look like the consumer had any insurance policy from what he said, which meant he allowed, it looks like he allowed the vehicle to go without querying certain things. And also, I mean, one of the things that I would actually advise consumers to do is to ask, how much is it going to cost for you to store my car? And if
where
you can't
are
afford,
you storing my
where
car,
is it
first
going?
of all? Yes.
Yes, that's important. If you can't afford it, you can't be able to say, please, can it go to my house? Let's go to my house with the car and let it be stored there until I make up my mind where I want the car to go.
But you know, knowing those tow truck drivers, I've been in an accident or two. They will come and bombard you with so many details that you don't even know what's going on at that time. So I'm sure Vincent no sign alana, so it's but we are continuing Vincent Mbugeli. We're going to be opening up the line shortly after this. Yilungelo Lakho coming up after this break. Mbukeli, welcome back to Ihlelo Yilungelo Lakho. Sengivulile-ke manje ingcingo usungasithinta la studio 011-714-6918 or 714-6919. You can email us your views to consumer@sabc.co.za. Alternatively, send us an SMS to 33721. Sikhona futhi na ku Facebook na ku Twitter. I'll be reading some of those messages later on. Namhlanje Mbukeli sikhuluma ngalama tow truck drivers laba bakuthathela imoto uthola usukhokha imali ongazazi. Ngiye ngabona ngisho i-quotation ethi imoto ihlale i-weekend, but they were quoted 9,000 rand storage fees just for ukuthi imoto bayithowile bayithatha bayibeka lapha. So sifuna ukwazi ukuthi kahle kahle yini ekumele uyazi wena njengomqhubi wemoto, njengomshayeli, uma phela usuyithola usengozini yemoto sekumele usebenzise i-tow truck. Silizwile udouble ka Vincent, uVincent lapha wathathelwa imoto wayithowelwa yayiswa kwiyadi yabantu abathowe imoto yakhe, and then the next thing is drive we-Pretoria imoto akasenayo kodwa nali ibhenki libhizi lingene ephaketheni lithatha imali. But Fati, before siye break insizwa, I wanted to hear your views ukuthi is there any recourse when ucabanga ukuthi kwenzakaleni enkingeni la ku Vincent, and ngicela sibe neqiniso bhuti.
Yeah, you see, the one issue that has to be asked is whether the car was insured, and that is still a moot point.
We've established that it was actually between insurance. It was transitioning from the one insurer to the next. So basically, he didn't have insurance, of which Etienne was stressing earlier on that as a legal right, when you drive that car out of a dealership, you have to have insurance. So cancelling insurance at some point is not a good thing.
Yeah, generally, the consumer, once he gets involved in an accident, he should actually be calm. Because that's where now you actually have your mind actually going everywhere.
Yeah.
And that's where you get confused when people come. They putting pressure on you to remove the vehicle. And then some would actually tell you that it has got to be stored in our yard.
Yes.
But what should actually happen is that the car should actually be removed from the motorway so that it could actually not, obstruct traffic that is actually flowing. Then you have got the right to actually arrange your own tow truck or whoever that could actually uplift the vehicle, either take it to where it could be repaired or to your house. So you have to be calm and sort of try and understand in terms of if it were to be towed, how much is it going to cost, what is the radius within which it would actually cost a certain amount of money, and then what are the other obligations that you actually have got to take all the notes from the person who is actually towing your vehicle, and then make sure that the car actually goes to where you would actually be able to actually identify it. In instances where, because remember you have to actually also arrange for, if it's insured, you have to arrange for any insurance company to authorize the repairs on the vehicle.
Yes.
So you have to find out if it will be in close proximity, if it were to be towed to your house. Is it in close proximity to the place where repairs would actually be effected?
Yes.
So there's a whole lot of tick boxes that you actually have got to actually
That's
make.
true. It's a
where you
lot.
have to be calm and then get the address, the identification, and ask where the car is actually going. The car could actually be towed to your house, and then you can make at your own spare time arrangement to have it actually removed from your house to another place, especially when it's not actually insured.
And that's mostly applicable kulabantu abangena insurance nebut Fati, where a car is towed to endlini yakho. All right. Yeah. Let's take our very first caller, uZandisile from Eastern Cape. Ntokazi, sekwamukela ohlelweni umbuzo noma umbono.
Molentis kunjani?
Molo bhuti kunjani?
Dongabilesis lenkubo yeni lapha ku television ismart kakhulu ndiyithanda.
Siyabulela tata. Bakwenze ntoni wena ama tow truck drivers?
Lama tow truck driver athowishe imoto ka sister wam from kwi-accident scene bayithowisha to their store, yabona. Pha esika ngoku sister wam phaya kwi-3 days down the line. Ufika sebemthatha ngoku-extra cost, yabona. And loo nto yaresultele ekubeni uba imoto iphelele kubo kwi-period of 3 working days.
Okay.
Ngoku endapha enebhatala an amount that is exceeding i-280,000 rand yemoto ethiwe yi-tow truck company, ene-scrap yard in East London. Yonke information sinayo yale moto.
Okay.
So nanti into esifuna ukunceda ngayo basithini imoto kufuneka ibe kwi-tow truck company for a period of 3 months, and beyond the 3 months they can do whatever they want to do according to the law.
Mamela, Tatu Zandisile, how long was this imoto kasisi pha kwiyadi yama-towers?
It was in a period of, it was lesser than 3 months. I think it was about 3 weeks or 2 weeks.
3 weeks. And then usisi wakho, are you aware if ube nayo insurance okanye cha tata?
No, ngiyalixesha ukuthi sebengenayo i-insurance kule moto.
Okay.
Itowise nje imoto apho kwi-accident scene itowisela kwiyadi yayo, yebona.
Okay, all right. So nigqibele nenze ntoni tata, nifumene lo moto in the end okanye bagqibele sebeyithatha kwayona lo moto?
Imoto kange siyifumane tu safika phaya kwi-first date siyapha umebhizi beyitrip imoto.
Okay, bathi bayenze ntoni imoto tata?
Oh,
they stripped the car. Okay. All right. Okay, Putzanisile ngicela umamele apho ke for further details. I'm sure guest wami azokunceda. Well, there we have it, Etienne. His sister's car was towed to the tow yard. It was there for about 3 weeks. They charged her 280,000 to release the car, and she didn't have insurance. And because they couldn't come up with the 280,000, they found that the car was stripped and they never found the car. What is your view on that? Is there any recourse for the sister?
There's definitely recourse, but that is extortion.
On whose behalf?
That is on behalf of that tow operator, and that is a criminal act.
It's a criminal,
extortion
indeed,
is criminal.
yeah.
The problem that we have is, firstly, in terms of the CPA, that any provider of services and or goods, and that includes the towing industry, because we are providers of services.
Absolutely.
And therefore, by law, we are supposed to ensure that upfront you inform the consumer what the cost would be: towing, storage, administration, security, whatever it might be that you want to charge. However, second to that, it's supposed to be allowing you as a consumer to make an informed decision financially if you can afford those costs or not. If you agree to those costs, those must be documented on a document where your signature is below it, like any other contract that you would have in the country. Doesn't matter what. The problem comes in that these costs are not explained to consumers. The consumer is traumatized, number one, after an incident. They are being harassed by the public. They've got towing operators that want to tow the vehicle. They've got medical personnel that want to see to their livelihoods, which is most important. That is first and most important, that the medical staff can do their work. Then you've got the South African police services on a scene. Then you've got the traffic on a scene. And at the same time, everybody wants some kind of a statement as to what happened, who drove, etc., etc.
Yeah.
So your mind is not very clear. And then you have the pressure. And this is where consumers need to be very vigilant, is that you have pressure from law enforcement that will tell you that you need to move your vehicle now out the roadway. Now, by law, in terms of the National Road Traffic Act, a law enforcer can instruct any towing operator to move that vehicle off the road surface at no charge. So just move it from that point to the side of the road. And as it was being said by a colleague here from the CPA, is allow the consumer to then make the right decision. Because we must also not forget that about 70% of our vehicles on our roads are uninsured.
Yes, I saw
So you can imagine if you're not insured, you have a major problem. Now, what I was picking up in the story is that they are allowed to do what they want with a vehicle after 3 months. That's incorrect. If you go back to the law, and I'm sure that from the consumer protection side, they will also be able to inform us, is that there's a process that if a vehicle is not collected to defray expenses, you have to go through a process, advertise in newspapers, auction, etc., etc. So should you make more than what is being owed, it gets paid back to you. So I think there's a lot of avenues for recourse, and the consumers need to be educated on that.
And where can you start, Etienne, very quickly before we go to break? Does he still have recourse?
The Consumer Protection Office is the right one.
Yeah, we have dealt with
Is this 3P we mod?
There is recourse, and we can deal with those cases. We have dealt with those before.
Okay.
And they've been referred to the Consumer Affairs Court. Yeah. We have this arrangement with the union in terms of how best and quickly we could actually resolve those kind of cases.
Okay. Ngicela umtshele kubhoti ukuthi inhlanganiso yenu igama layo because angizange ngisho ekuqaleni.
Yeah, our office is the GAUTENG Office of Consumer Affairs, and there are several offices across the country. In the Eastern Cape specifically, there is an office, I think, in East London, if I'm not mistaken. But he could actually refer his case to our office. We can actually lies with the Gauteng Consumer Affairs Office.
Let me get this very straight before I go to break. I know Mike is going to kill me. There's no statute of limitations here, Etienne. The car can be 12, 15 years old, whatever. It can be towed whenever and stripped. After 20 years, you can still go argue a case. How does it work? Is there time limitations?
No, there obviously is going to be time limitations, and it goes back to what your agreement is.
Yeah.
And we must remember that in terms of towing, in many instances, it is stated on the document that if you do not collect your vehicle within 3 months, it will be sold to defray expenses. However, contractually, is it correct? Is it legal to have that? Those are the questions that need to be addressed. And if you have followed what the agreement is, and the towing operator can also only store a vehicle for such a time, because the same with insurance. If a vehicle is uneconomical to repair, they write it off.
Yes.
So we can't expect the towing operator to store a
keep the
vehicle
car
for
there
10 years
forever.
because you as a consumer want to take your time, build up your money. And what we must not forget, there's a chain of communication. Ensure that when your vehicle is towed, that you continue to communicate with the operator via mail, via SMS, that you've got evidence of your communication.
Thank you, Etienne, for explaining it ever so nicely. Mbukela siphinde futhi sithi shalale ngaseyitolo ungabe ngisachitha isikhathi. We'll be back with more shortly after this. Welcome back. Ukhumbula ukuthi ingcingo zethu sezivuliwe ke manje, bamba iqhaza sithintela 0117146918 0117146919 ukuthi nawe ubeke owakho umbono. consumer@sabc.co.za is the email address ongasithinta kuyona. Alternatively sikhona lapha kuma social media networks, namely iFacebook neTwitter. Sindiswa, uma Sindiswa eRoodepoort sekwamukela ntokazi. Mam Sindiswa.
Sisi.
Kunjani mama?
Ngiyaphila kunjani?
Ndiphilile mama. Singakunceda kanjani namhlanje?
Yes, Thanda, ndinengxaki ngiyaziyela esigulini December abantwana bami babethe ekhaya.
Bakwenze ntoni mama?
Bastaka endleleni bafika uncedo lomlungu wathi uyabanceda ubathoyela imoto ukuba isanga eBloemfontein. Wafika eRiversdale wabapaka endaweni yakhe igaraji. Wathi imoto iyalungiswa bafonela mina mama sinayo imali. Umlungu manje imfonela wasicela ideposit ye-4,250 before itop yendlini.
How?
Ngazama imali ngayithumela wathi uvalile akusasetshenzwa beze after iChristmas.
How?
Bahamba abantwana ngama-hike bayofika endaweni yasekongo. Alandela ndawunqaba umsebenzi kanti fika nami wathi indini eBloemfontein. Awu imoto ayibona nayo into wathi sithi indini eBloemfontein. Ndahlala ekhaya ndabuya after i-New Year. Xa ndifika after New Year abantwana sebehambe eqala ndafika belele phaa belale i-5 days ngephofu. Uthi imoto ayilungi. Yabuza umasebenzi ubani uwe nobuthethiswa futhi ixokusatha eBloemfontein likubhalile. Ngekusasa abantwana bazawubuya. Abantwana babuya ngaloo moto idonswe phezulu ingalunganga kodwa ke i-7,800 babe ndikhuphile.
Wow.
Andifonela bethi ku-Antonia ukuthi ubani umuntu okwazi ukulungisa imoto nguwe okanye ngabantu baseBloemfontein ibona kasayibani.
How? Okay, and then kugqibele kuthiweni ke mama ke ngemoto imoto at least ikhonile ukuthi ibuye after nibhadalele 7.5.
Wandaqasha umuntu nge-2,000 wadonsa imoto wazwebeka kwami ndayofuna umakhenikhi amabekufika wathi mama itop yakho ayizinde yenziwe bayiklina nje kuphela bayisitira bagqiba bayibuyisela kathi into yezokophuke ama-50 ashona ngaphakathi ku-engine yonke into ziziphoto zayo apha. Wantathe bama ndikhuphe leyo engine ihleli lapha kwami ngoku i-engine ndawuthenga i-engine entsha ndayifaka emotweni ngoba uThixo uyabanceda abantu bakhe.
Yo mama. All right. Okay, ke mama siyabulela. Thank you so much. But Fati, this is a serious problem. Do you get a lot of complaints anjena? Like, I mean, this is like so detailed. Basically, Etienne, her kid's car, her kids got in an accident with a car. It was towed to the tow yard. They were quoted 4,000 rand for storage for about, I think it was the Christmas weekend. But when she called to inquire, they told her that they were closed for Christmas. They must come after. She ended up paying 7.5 1.5 thousand for the car to be towed back, and an additional 2,000 rand for the person that was now going to tow the car back to her house. I just want to hear, Putfat.
Those are typical cases that we get.
And
especially when it comes to issues of storage. The fees just escalate, they go up, up, up until such time as the consumer cannot even afford them. We do deal with those kind of cases. As I've indicated, a few of them have been referred to the Consumer Affairs Court. A few of them have also been resolved by negotiation, mediation, and there were settlement agreements facilitated by the association. So those are the typical cases because the issue pertaining to now stripping of the car is when now the consumer cannot, afford because now the costs may have actually
they've accumulated,
yeah. So it's a problem, and those are the kind of cases that we actually deal with all the time. Because you can imagine if the car were to be towed straight to this the caller's premises, it would have actually attracted very few costs. But they insist it must be towed to our yard. There is no obligation for the car to be towed. The car could actually be moved off the road.
Just off the road until you decide.
Exactly.
I mean, this is a worrying issue. Insurance people are actually getting duped.
Uma ngizwa le call kaSindiswa Alisha, ungathi bakhuluma nge-mechanical breakdown. I-mechanical breakdown is not an accident really. It's where ngathi ama-pistons emoto alimala nemoto angakwazi ukuhamba ngeshaya engine. So in those cases, it's possible for a consumer to have a certain type of a policy where you are able to be assisted. And it looks like
roadside assistance.
Roadside assistance, yeah. It looks like abantwana were en route to Eastern Cape. So when those things happen, when you are stuck in the middle of nowhere, you're not close to home, those are the challenges that you have to consider. Where is your car going to be stored? And I think from an insurance perspective, we always encourage our consumers that prior to long trips, especially around December, make sure that your car is safe.
Everything is roadworthy.
Make sure your car is roadworthy before you get on the road, so that these things are limited and you don't get to be stuck like this.
Etienne, I mean, 7,500 rand for storage, 4,000 rand. I'm getting like exorbitant amounts, 3,000 rand. But when I was actually reading the research and some of the stuff that you've put out on newspapers, it says, according to the CPA, there should be a charge of about 125 rand per day that should be charged for storage as a cap fee.
No. You can't cap the fees, number one. Secondly, there is no such thing in terms of the Consumer Protection Act as to what the rates are. So I don't know where that information comes from. However, it is important that the consumers are made aware upfront of what the costs are. It gives you that ability to make a financial decision whether you can or cannot afford it. What we must also not forget is these are businesses. Even though it's a 24-hour business which is providing you with a service, the service that they provide you with is towing. So we
not
must also
storage.
Well, they give you storage too,
Yeah.
if you're prepared to store your vehicle depending on what the situation is, but you need to be aware of the costs. One cannot expect over a holiday period or a weekend unless that towing operator is prepared to make their administration department available to be able to release a vehicle. So, I mean, I think like any other business, there's standard operating hours that you have where you've got administration that gets done. Even within the insurance industry, they've got the hours which is 8 to 5 or 8 to 6, whatever it is when it comes to administration. So the service is still being delivered, even outside of the hours with the insurance industry where they've got call centers that manage their roadside assistance programs. It's given to somebody else to manage it on their behalf to still be able to deliver the service.
Yes.
But the next working day would obviously come back, and that's when they would do the administration. So in that period, you are going to incur costs, but you need to be made aware of those costs. And the responsibility, unfortunately, which a lot of consumers don't understand, is they think that it is only the responsibility of the provider of services and or goods to adhere to the Consumer Protection Act. You as a consumer have also got the expectation to know what your responsibilities are.
True.
And be responsible and make the right decision up front. Do not be pressurized by anybody and allow yourself to make a proper financial informed decision.
Our agony uncle today is ATN Pal. Let's take another caller, Usis BUYISIWE from Cape Town. BUYISIWE, thank you so much for staying on the line. Umbuzo noma umbona?
Siyaphila mama kuhle kunjani mama?
Ndiphilile mama, unjani wena?
Ndonwabe kakhulu mama.
Bakwenze ntoni mama?
2017 bendisesibhedlele for about 10 months. Second week ngesibhedlele my son waba accident.
Yes.
And then this towing company Algoa in East London, they towed the car. My son was unconscious that particular moment. And then kwesikhathi wayojonga imoto lapho kuthiwa itowushe khona eveni recovery. Then what they did, they played around with my son, saying that he must come this week, that week, up until he will lose the patience, because I believe that's what they wanted him to be.
Abe frustrated, ma'am.
Yeah, yes, yeah. Then I was not there. Then I phoned them on my way to Bandisyocho Moto Kubo. But on a Thursday. I remember it was a Tuesday that day. But is in the Tika Economy Moto on a Thursday. Can't see on a Thursday. And the Muzuguchi Imoto EP batteries was now Patala storage. I said, yes, I need to see my carpet.
Yes.
And then they refused to show me the car. And then they played hide and seek up until on that particular day, I remember, I think was it the second day, I can't remember clearly. But and motor it was the storage now without them showing me the car, yeah, and that motor and I'm sitting with a problem. I'm owing the bank and I don't know where my car is.
Hayi bo mama. Xa ubafonela bathi kuphi mama?
Imoto ngoku bendithuma on a Tuesday bathi ndizofika ikhona ikhona kwi-storage. Xa ndifika kubo imoto, I believe by stripping or something like that. But they refused at all to show me the car.
Mama BUYISIWE, how long was the car in storage? Why were they stripping the car? Bathi izizathu zabo, why?
Bayazile ukuthi ngisesibhedlela i-condition yami yayingatsho ukuthi ngaphinda ndiphume ndikhona ndiyaphila. That is why they were playing around with my son.
Oh, I see. Okay, ke mama. Mama BUYISIWE siza kunceda emva kwele khefu mama, please ngicela uhlale nje apho. Ukhona uButfati apho, ukhona uMagigaba and ukhona iATN. I'm sure bazozama all ukuthi bazame ukuthi bazokunceda all together sizobona ukuthi sizokusiza kanjani. Let's take another quick commercial break mbukeli. Hey, iyashisa le ndaba kakhulu. Don't go anywhere. The problem that is the self-regulated industry, tow truck drivers, if wagwaba sengozini, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Mina, I had to fight and find out ukuthi imoto yami bayibeke bekade bengitshelile ukuthi izosuka la iye la. Ngathi sengiyafona kusasa imoto isithathiwe iswe lena le. Luckily, I had done a show just the week before ngiyabonga Tavi. We did the show I think a year or two ago. I had just done that show, so I knew everything, the driver's information, the tow truck, everything, yonke imininingwane yabo bengina ngibafonela ngibathethise ngathi imoto yami ngiyayifuna la ntheni izoyibeka khona, so mele ungabahlekisi neze. Ake sizwe ukuthi nithini ngendaba kaSisibuyisile. Butfati uthini wena nsizwa?
Yeah, you see, that is a police case, and we just had a chat before the show now.
Yeah.
That, where a person is not able to actually give consent because of he's incapacitated, probably by injury or is being unconscious, or the person actually died. The police must actually come into space, and then they are the ones who have the right to actually tow the vehicle to a safe place. Okay. You do not have, as a tow truck driver, in such circumstances, to actually tow the vehicle from the accident scene. Okay. An accident scene is a scene where the police have to be involved, and then they will have to establish all the facts surrounding the accident and probably also contact next of kin, who would actually be interviewed in respect of what's happening and whatever. That is why you'll see in many instances where apparently a person is critically injured or died, the roads actually get sealed off.
Yeah.
It means now that is a police scene.
It's a crime
no
scene.
one
Well,
could actually,
yeah.
you know, enter there and then do as he or she pleases. Because consent is the main issue, or giving permission to actually do that is the main test that one should actually
Kumela sign. This
Yes.
is what we're saying, Etienne. And I mean, you stressed about this. We were very perturbed by this, the fact that some tow truck company actually towed a car without the consent, without anybody having actually signed it off. I mean, talk to us about that.
Yeah, look, in terms of the National Road Traffic Act, if we go back, there's a section 61. Now, that section is read together with the Regulation 320 of the National Road Traffic Act. Now, firstly, the only person or persons that can give legal authorization to tow a vehicle is either the owner of the vehicle, the driver of the vehicle at the time of the instance. So in other words, the driver has been given legal authorization to drive. That driver can give legal authorization for the vehicle to be towed. Or any other person that can take legal ownership, and that is the critical part, is legal ownership of that vehicle.
Okay.
Not even an insurance company can take legal ownership of the vehicle at that moment in
What
time.
is this legal ownership of
It means
the
who
vehicle?
takes ownership of the vehicle.
Okay.
So it's either the owner, who the legal owner is in terms of law, the finance house, but the finance house, you're never going to get hold of them in any case to get the authorization, or the driver of the vehicle at that moment in time. Now, in terms of the SAP standing orders, it took us 5 years to get a letter from the SAPs regarding this issue because it became a big problem for us of vehicles being towed away without authorization and exorbitant fees being charged and consumers losing their vehicles. So in terms of the SAPs, they've got what they call the SAPs responsibilities on crash scenes. Now, we must remember that every crash scene is actually a crime scene.
Yes.
So there needs to be law enforcement on that scene, unless it's obviously as per your driving license that you know, if it's minor damage, it's not a state vehicle, take the details and move on. But in terms of where somebody's incapacitated, being for driving under the influence of alcohol, that they are arrested, somebody's been killed, or the injuries are so severe that they cannot give authorization, that vehicle, in terms of that document, shall be impounded.
Okay.
Not must be, it shall be impounded by the SAPs. Now, we hear from SAPs around the country that they keep telling us, but we don't have sufficient space. That must not become the problem of the consumer. The SAPs need to do their work and ensure that they have sufficient space. Or they need to contract out to the private towing industry and make them government-approved facilities, allowing them to store those vehicles in terms of what the agreement with the SAPs then would be. Then you are protecting the consumer. But until such time where that doesn't happen, we have a problem. So SAPs need to come on board and they need to address the issues. And where SAPs gives a towing operator permission to tow a vehicle to their yard where somebody's been killed or for driving under the influence, a case needs to be opened against that SAPs person or law enforcer, because then there's a question coming up and a red flag. What is happening between these two, and is there a relationship? So these are things that the consumers need to be very aware of.
All right, okay. So mbukelo uyezwa-ke kuthiwa if kuwukuthi umuntu ulimele or ushonile kuleyo accident scene, akumele neze leyo moto ithathwe ithowishwe yilaba abakhona. If kuwukuthi lo muntu ulimalile lapha akakwazi ukukhuluma, akakwazi ukwenza lutho, kuthiwa kahle kahle kumele kube yilaba bomthetho abakhona lapho, kungaba ama-traffic cop, kungaba ama-SAPS, ibone kumele bayithathe imoto bayoyifaka kwi-impound. Akumele neze ihambe ize iye kwi-tow yard ngoba akekho umuntu owenzeni obhalile wasayindela ukuthi ayihambe leyo moto iyostorishwa lapha kwi-storage. Let's now quickly look at ukuthi nithini lapha kuma-Facebook and Twitter messages. Umuzi Zabala uthi tow truck drivers bakhohlakele kabi. Some of them spill oil deliberately on the road, especially on rainy weather, to cause accidents. They are always waiting for the accidents to happen so that they can tow your car, demanding an unreasonable amount. Let's take some more of your messages there. Umutu wabatu, silence Razwizi. They even cause an accident. That's why they are first on the scene. More on that. Ubani uhlukuzin Kong. Hey, amagamen. Uhlukuzin Kong. Uti no, they don't help. And then last but not least, Utebo Hoshika. Uti they first help themselves with valuables found in the car scene. Hey, thumbs down. Shooting Togas, we're going to get in Togas Umakika, but maybe to just quickly take us through some of those comments about some of those. Let's quickly take that ad break. Final segment, and I'm told I don't have enough time. So very quickly, Ntokazi, what do you think about those comments we saw before Sia Caffeine?
Comment on the oil spills and things like that. But what I can tell you, Alicia, if you have an accident, if you are aware and you are able to do these things yourself, make that call yourself to your insurer. If you don't have airtime, they will offer you the phone, but make that call yourself. Don't allow other people to make the call for you. Also secure your belongings. If you can, just take them and put them away, so that, because it's not necessarily amateur truck drivers or anybody. It could be the community. People who are coming by who will come and then help themselves because you're not aware and you're traumatized.
All right, Etienne, your closing statements, and please comment on the oil spill.
Yes, no. So those allegations have been flying around the country for years. But we must remember one thing. We have a road user whose vehicle is not roadworthy, who's spilling oil every day on our road surfaces. And when the first rains come, that oil is lifted to the surface. And this makes your car slip and slide. It's not the towing operators, because the towing operators also do have family that ride around. They don't want to have their own family being involved in crashes.
All right.
So there's no need for that.
All right. Very quickly, Siyavala put FATI.
I can't vouch for the oil spillages and all those things. I haven't seen it. But what I'm saying is that we work very closely with the association, and we're going to strengthen our relationships. We want to get these things actually sorted
and regulated.
Okay. Because self-regulation has proven not to.
How soon, Zizo? Are there talks?
There are talks. We already have, they refer cases to us already. We have Ruben Sidiban who's actually dealing with that. So we want to strengthen that relationship so that at least we get to somewhere where we can have a blueprint of a paper that we could actually produce to get these people to actually comply.
All right.
And then put together some few do's and don'ts, and then, some fact sheet or some question answer kind of a leaflet that could actually guide consumers.
Thank you so much. Etienne Powell from UTASA, Umazanele Ukigaba from the SA Insurance Institute, who advocate FATI MANAMELA from the Consumer Office or the Economic Development Office. Thank you so much for joining us, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you so much for all that insightful information. Ngiyathemba mbukela ukuthi nawe-ke njengoba sesifike emaphethelweni ohlelo lethu kuningi okufundile namhlanje. Even though we didn't have enough time, ngiyazi ukuthi sizoyi-recycler le ndaba sobuye sixoxe ngayo, but thank you so much for your participation. Nafona nasazama nokunisiza, sithemba ukuthi nikwazile futhi ukuthi nisizeke. Do join us again next week Monday for another live consumer affairs discussion. From me, u-Alicia Ntombi yakanhlanhla wakajali. Ngithi nje kunina nisale kahle. Ikhona i-repeat every Thursday khona la ku-SABC 1. For now, bye.